The Colosseum has stood majestically in the heart of Rome for nearly 2,000 years. For most of that time, it seemed as though every secret of this iconic amphitheater had been uncovered, every facet thoroughly understood. Millions of tourists annually pass through its ancient arches. Countless scholars have dedicated their careers to its study, and hundreds of books meticulously describe every stone, every crack, every centimeter of its colossal structure. Yet, in 2021, a group of Italian and American researchers aimed a new generation of ground-penetrating radar (GPR) into the earth beneath the Colosseum, revealing something that quite literally dropped the collective jaw of the archaeological community. Below the arena floor, beneath the subterranean corridors that have been known and explored for decades, and beneath everything we believe to be the absolute bottom of this monumental building, lay another distinct level, an entire world whose existence no one had ever suspected. But to truly grasp the profound shock of this discovery, we must first delve into what we already knew, or thought we knew, about the Colosseum's enigmatic underground. For the story of what lies beneath the arena is, in itself, nothing short of incredible. When Emperor Vespasian commenced the construction of the Flavian Amphitheater, as the Colosseum was originally known in 72 AD, he chose a location that was, to say the least, unconventional. This very site had previously been home to an artificial lake, a lavish component of Emperor Nero's grandiose Domus Aurea, Golden House, which he built for his own pleasure after the Great Fire of 64 AD. Nero had drained the lake once to create his extravagant complex. Vespasian, however, drained it again, this time with the explicit intention of erasing Nero's hated legacy and replacing it with an arena for the people. It was a potent political statement. Where a tyrant had seized land for personal indulgence, a new emperor was returning it for public spectacle. Yet, building on the soft, water-saturated ground of a former lake presented an immense engineering nightmare. Such terrain was prone to subsidence and utterly incapable of supporting the colossal weight of the planned amphitheater. True to their ingenious spirit, Roman engineers solved this formidable problem with their characteristic approach: immense scale and unparalleled use of concrete. They excavated a massive pit several meters deep, then filled it layer by layer with concrete and stone, forging a foundation that has held the Colosseum steadfastly for 2 millennia, weathering dozens of earthquakes and centuries of neglect and plunder. The Colosseum was officially opened in 80 AD under Vespasian's son, Titus. The inauguration was marked by legendary 100-day games, during which, according to ancient authors, thousands of animals and hundreds of gladiators met their demise. In its nascent years, the Colosseum's arena was a simple, flat expanse, a mere sandy platform encircled by seating tiers. There were no underground structures whatsoever. The arena served as a stage for gladiatorial contests, public executions, and, astonishingly, for naumachiae or simulated naval battles. Yes, you read that correctly. The Colosseum's arena was intentionally flooded with water, upon which real ships floated and real combatants engaged in maritime warfare. The exact engineering methods used to achieve this remain one of the most hotly debated questions in Roman archaeology. Some theories suggest water was supplied via a specially constructed aqueduct, while others propose the use of a sophisticated system of cisterns and channels inherited from Nero's earlier lake. Regardless of the precise mechanics, the spectacle was undeniably phenomenal, with 50,000 spectators mesmerized by a naval battle unfolding within a stone bowl in the very heart of the city. The elaborate underground complex, known as the Hypogeum, emerged later, during the reign of Emperor Domitian, around the 80s AD. Domitian, always seeking to elevate the grandeur of the spectacles, commissioned the construction of an intricate system of tunnels, chambers, and mechanisms beneath the arena floor. From this point on, naumachiae became an impossibility, as the Hypogeum now occupied all the space below the arena. However, in return, the Romans gained something far more captivating: pure theatrical magic. Imagine this. You are seated in the stands, gazing down at a flat, sandy arena. Suddenly, without warning, a tree rises from beneath the ground, then another, then an entire forest seemingly sprouts into existence. From behind the newly formed trees, deer, wild boars, and bears bolt into the arena. Then, a roar reverberates through the air, from a hidden hatch in the floor, a lion emerges, followed by a tiger, then a rhinoceros. In a matter of minutes, the arena transforms into a wild, untamed forest teeming with predators and hunters, emerging as if from nowhere, engage them in battle. Spectators saw only the breathtaking outcome, not the complex machinery behind it, making the entire experience feel utterly magical. The mechanism powering this magic was, in itself, an engineering masterpiece of the highest order. Beneath the arena lay a sophisticated system comprising several dozen wooden elevators or platforms, meticulously operated by an intricate network of ropes, pulleys, and winches turned by scores of enslaved laborers. Each individual lift was capable of raising a cage containing an animal, a piece of scenery, a group of gladiators, or even a small structure to the surface. The hatches in the arena floor were cleverly concealed with sand, ensuring that spectators never knew precisely where the next surprise would emerge, thus creating an element of thrilling unpredictability that was central to the show. Beyond these innovative lifts, the Hypogeum also featured extensive chambers for holding animals, rooms for gladiators, armories for weapons, intricate corridors for the movement of both people and beasts, and even a dedicated sewage system designed to drain away blood and refuse. Essentially, a bustling subterranean city existed beneath the Colosseum's arena, populated by hundreds of people and animals, all working with clockwork precision to ensure that the 50,000 spectators above received their unparalleled spectacle. The sheer scale of the events that transpired within these underground labyrinths is almost impossible to fully comprehend. Over 4 centuries of the Colosseum's active use, historians estimate that between 400,000 and 1 million people, and well over 1 million wild animals were killed on its arena floor. Lions, tigers, bears, elephants, rhinoceroses, giraffes, crocodiles, ostriches, and even aurochs were imported from every corner of the vast Roman Empire. Lions and leopards from North Africa, bears and aurochs from Germania, tigers and elephants from India, and crocodiles and hippopotamuses from Egypt. Each species required its own specialized cages, dedicated corridors, and specific dietary provisions. At any given time, hundreds of animals could be housed simultaneously within the Hypogeum, and the stench was so overpowering that the enslaved workers below often wrapped their faces in rags. Ancient authors describe how the terrifying roar of the beasts echoed through the streets surrounding the Colosseum, a deep, guttural rumble rising from beneath the earth, as if the very ground itself was groaning. For the Romans living nearby, this was a familiar backdrop. For visitors, it was an utterly shocking experience. A unique and often overlooked aspect of this underground world was the corridor connecting the Colosseum's Hypogeum to the Ludus Magnus, Rome's largest gladiator school, situated just a few dozen meters to the east. Through this subterranean passage, gladiators would journey to the arena without ever surfacing. They descended into the tunnel at their barracks alive and would emerge from a hatch onto the arena floor, ready to fight for their lives. Many, of course, would never return. For the spectators, a gladiator's sudden appearance from seemingly nowhere added yet another element of magic to the proceedings. For the gladiator himself, however, this dark, damp, stone-walled tunnel was the final road, a somber procession during which he would hear the roar of the crowd overhead, knowing that in a matter of minutes, that very crowd would decide his fate, to live or to die. There was also another crucial detail of the underground infrastructure that is rarely discussed: the highly efficient waste disposal system. The brutal contests on the arena floor generated an enormous quantity of blood, both human and animal. The sand covering the arena became so saturated that it had to be replaced several times throughout a single day of performances. The old, blood-soaked sand was raked through special hatches down into the Hypogeum, where it was collected and then removed from the city. Fresh sand was then delivered to the arena using the very same elevators. The word arena, incidentally, derives from the Latin word for sand, and this is no mere coincidence. Sand was a critical element of the spectacle. It absorbed blood, provided crucial traction for the combatants' feet, and could be quickly replaced to ensure that the next fight began on a clean surface. Within the Hypogeum, archaeologists have discovered specialized channels through which water flowed, used to wash away blood and grime. This sophisticated drainage system was connected to the city's Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer and Rome's principal drainage conduit, diverting all waste into the Tiber River. Thus, the blood of gladiators and beasts, shed on the arena floor, literally flowed into the river that cradled the city. Following the last recorded games in the 6th century AD, the Colosseum slowly began its long decline. Its magnificent Hypogeum gradually filled with earth, debris, and rainwater. By the Middle Ages, it was largely forgotten. The entrance to the Hypogeum was buried, and the arena floor itself became overgrown with grass and shrubs. For centuries, people lived within the Colosseum's ruins, the homeless, artisans, merchants, none of them suspecting the intricate labyrinth of tunnels and chambers hidden beneath their feet. It was only in the 19th century, with the dawn of the first archaeological excavations, that the Hypogeum was partially cleared and opened for serious study. What scholars uncovered then caused a sensation. A complex network of corridors, fragments of lifting mechanisms, channels designed for cages, and guides for platforms. It became unequivocally clear that the Romans had engineered a form of theatrical machinery of unprecedented scale beneath the arena, a technology unparalleled in the ancient world and tragically lost to memory for 1,000 years. Throughout the 20th century, the Hypogeum was investigated with increasing thoroughness. Archaeologists meticulously cleared its corridors, catalogued every find, and painstakingly reconstructed the ingenious lifting mechanisms. By the dawn of the 21st century, it was widely believed that the Colosseum's underground had been fully explored. Detailed plans were published, three-dimensional models were constructed, and comprehensive monographs written. The Hypogeum was even open to tourists, albeit in limited, organized groups, as its fragile ancient structures could not withstand a mass influx of visitors. The scientific community was confident. "We know everything there is to know about what lies beneath the Colosseum," they affirmed. "The bottom has been reached." And then, a new generation of ground-penetrating radar emerged, a technology that completely overturned this long-held conviction. GPR is an instrument that transmits pulses of electromagnetic waves into the Earth and then analyzes the reflected signal. The precise characteristics of this reflection allow researchers to determine what lies beneath the surface: stone, empty space, water, or metal. The principle is analogous to sonar, but instead of water, it's the Earth, and instead of sound waves, it's radio waves. While GPR has been employed in archaeology since the 1980s, early models suffered from limited penetration depth and low resolution. They could detect a large void a few meters deep, but couldn't discern fine details. The new generation of GPR, which appeared in the late 2010s, is an entirely different story. These advanced systems are capable of scanning the ground to depths of 20 to 30 meters with a remarkable resolution of just a few centimeters. In essence, it functions as an X-ray for the Earth, and it revealed that beneath the Colosseum, there were things unseen by human eyes or archaeological shovels. The initial results of these groundbreaking scans were obtained in late 2020 and early 2021. Researchers from Sapienza University of Rome, in collaboration with colleagues from Stanford University, conducted a systematic scan of the area both surrounding and directly beneath the Colosseum. They worked predominantly at night, when the throngs of tourists were absent and vibrations from city traffic were minimal, meticulously moving GPR antennas across a pre-marked grid. The vast amounts of data collected were then processed by a supercomputer, which painstakingly assembled thousands of individual scans into a comprehensive three-dimensional map of the subterranean space. And this map, it turned out, was profoundly different from anything previously expected. Beneath the already known Hypogeum, that intricate labyrinth of lifts and cages that had been excavated and studied throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, another distinct system of structures was unexpectedly discovered. At depths ranging from 6 to 12 meters below the floor of the Hypogeum, the radar registered a series of remarkably regular, rectangular anomalies: walls, corridors, and enclosed spaces. These were clearly not natural geological formations, nor were they random voids. Their contours were far too regular, too geometrically precise. These were undeniably man-made structures, built by someone at some point beneath the Colosseum, and they lay significantly deeper than anything known to exist there until now. What could this be? was the immediate, pressing question. At the time the initial results were published, scientists put forth several compelling hypotheses. The first, and perhaps most probable, suggests these are the remnants of the extensive infrastructure connected to Nero's Domus Aurea. Nero's palatial complex was truly grandiose, sprawling across the area from the Palatine to the Esquiline Hills, and encompassing lush gardens, ornate pavilions, the artificial lake, and a sophisticated network of subterranean utilities, including aqueducts, sewers, and storage chambers. When Vespasian constructed the Colosseum on the site of Nero's former lake, it is entirely plausible that he chose to simply bury parts of these existing underground communications rather than undertaking the monumental task of destroying them entirely. Thus, they could have remained undisturbed beneath the amphitheater's massive foundation, buried and ultimately forgotten for centuries. A second, even more exciting, hypothesis proposes that the newly detected structures are linked to the colossal water supply system that would have been essential for those spectacular naumachiae, the naval battles staged within the arena. If the arena was indeed flooded with water, it would have necessitated a hydraulic system of immense capacity for both water delivery and drainage, a complex network of channels, cisterns, and sluice gates. Such a system would logically have to be located somewhere beneath the Colosseum, yet it had never been found. Perhaps the GPR has now finally located this elusive hydraulic infrastructure, the very system that allowed the arena to be transformed into a functioning lake within a matter of hours. If this theory is confirmed, it would definitively solve one of the oldest and most enduring mysteries of Roman engineering. The third hypothesis put forward is arguably the boldest and most controversial. Among the various anomalies recorded by the radar, there were several objects whose reflective characteristics were atypical for standard stone masonry or empty voids. Their unique reflectivity suggested the presence of metal or dense organic material. Some researchers, exercising the cautious skepticism inherent to their profession, tentatively proposed that these could represent ancient burials. Not merely scattered bones incorporated into the foundation, but organized interments, complete with grave goods such as inventory, weapons, ornaments, and vessels. If this extraordinary theory were to prove true, it would imply the existence of a necropolis, an ancient cemetery, that existed on this site prior to the construction of the amphitheater, or even ritualistic burials directly associated with the Colosseum itself. The Romans, after all, had a known custom of consecrating major construction projects with sacrifices, and the laying of the Colosseum's foundation could well have been accompanied by such a profound ritual. These initial results ignited a fervent debate within the academic community, with some embracing them with enthusiasm and others greeting them with cautious skepticism. The primary challenge lies in the nature of GPR itself. While it effectively reveals anomalies beneath the surface, it does not explicitly show what precisely causes those anomalies. To accurately determine the true nature of the discovered structures, archaeological excavations are indispensable. However, undertaking excavations beneath the Colosseum presents a logistical, safety, and bureaucratic nightmare of epic proportions. The Colosseum is not merely an ancient ruin. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the most visited tourist attractions globally, and, perhaps most importantly, a powerful symbol of Italy itself. Any work that might potentially compromise its structural integrity or historical authenticity must navigate an endless labyrinth of approvals and permits, with every single step meticulously scrutinized by dozens of overseeing authorities. Scholars often jest that obtaining permission to excavate beneath the Colosseum is arguably more difficult than securing approval to build an entirely new Colosseum from scratch. Nevertheless, the critical work continues. In 2022 and 2023, additional scans were carried out using even more sensitive and advanced equipment. While the full results of these latest investigations have yet to be officially published, unofficial leaks from scientific circles strongly indicate that the initial data has been confirmed. The newly discovered underground structures are real, they are indeed extensive, and they are situated demonstrably deeper than any previously known element of the Colosseum. Intriguingly, some of the corridors identified through these scans appear to extend beyond the known perimeter of the amphitheater, stretching in the direction of the Palatine Hill, where the imperial palaces were located. This fascinating detail suggests the possibility of secret passages, enabling the emperor to access the Colosseum discreetly, bypassing the immense crowds. The existence of such private imperial passages is mentioned in several ancient texts, yet they have never before been definitively located. Should the GPR indeed have uncovered an imperial tunnel, it would undoubtedly rank as one of the most significant archaeological finds in Rome in recent decades. There is yet another captivating detail emerging from the scans: anomalies interpreted by researchers as fragments of an ancient aqueduct. These appear to be clay or lead pipes, positioned at a depth of approximately 10 meters. If these are indeed parts of an aqueduct, they could very well be components of that mysterious hydraulic system thought to be responsible for filling the arena with water for the naumachiae. This very question has perplexed historians for over 2 centuries. Where did the enormous volumes of water come from, and where did it go? How could a basin with an 80-meter diameter be filled in a reasonable time frame and then drained just as rapidly? Ancient sources confirm that naumachiae were indeed conducted, making their occurrence an established fact, but the underlying engineering mechanism has always remained an enigma. Now, perhaps the answer lies literally beneath our feet, buried under the layers of concrete and rubble with which Domitian likely filled the water system when he decided to construct the Hypogeum. Adding to the intrigue, the radar also detected several anomalies located outside the known perimeter of the Colosseum's foundation. This strongly suggests that the Colosseum's overall infrastructure extended far beyond what is visible on the surface. It is well documented that auxiliary structures surrounded the amphitheater: armories, gladiator barracks, like the Ludus Magnus, an infirmary, the so-called sanitarium where the wounded were taken, and a mortuary, where the dead were brought. However, the precise location of most of these buildings remains unknown, as they were either destroyed or built over during the Middle Ages. The GPR, through these new findings, may have potentially located the foundations of these lost auxiliary buildings. If this is confirmed, it would, for the first time in history, enable a comprehensive reconstruction of the entire Colosseum complex, not just the amphitheater itself. In parallel with these groundbreaking underground investigations, a massive restoration project of the Colosseum itself is underway. In 2023, the construction of a new retractable arena platform was completed. This innovative platform now covers the Hypogeum from above, effectively recreating the Colosseum's original appearance when the arena was a flat, unencumbered space. This will permit the hosting of events, concerts, exhibitions, and ceremonies on the arena floor for the first time in 1,000 years. The concept has ignited fierce debate. Some hail it as a brilliant way to bring the Colosseum back to life, while others condemn it as sacrilege, transforming a monument of suffering into a mere entertainment venue. Nevertheless, the very possibility of people once again stepping onto the Colosseum's arena, not for battles but for music, symbolically closes a 2-millennium-long historical circle. And against this backdrop, the radar data points to yet another unknown layer lying beneath the feet of the very workers installing this new arena. A layer older than the Colosseum itself. A layer that remembers Nero and his golden palace, and perhaps even what came before Nero: Republican Rome, its temples, its roads, its dead. Rome is a city that literally stands on 20 meters of its own accumulated history. Each successive century has added a new layer atop the previous one, and the Colosseum, despite its undeniable grandeur, is merely one of these uppermost layers. Beneath it lie even more, delving deeper and deeper towards the very foundations of civilization. The Colosseum, in this sense, is not an exception but the defining rule of Rome. Indeed, all Rome stands on its own bones. When construction began on the Roman metro in the 1960s, every single station became an impromptu archaeological dig site. The construction of Line C, the newest line, took more than 20 years instead of the planned 5, simply because engineers could not excavate a pit without inevitably encountering an ancient Roman house, a medieval foundation, or an Etruscan necropolis. Beneath the Ettore Bohis station, they unearthed the barracks of Roman Praetorian Guards. Under the San Giovanni station, an ancient Roman agricultural farm with an intricate irrigation system was discovered. On average, beneath every square meter of Roman soil lie 5 to 6 distinct layers from previous historical eras. Rome is not merely a city. It is an archaeological cake, and we, its current inhabitants, are living on the frosting. The Colosseum, in this rich context, represents the most delectable slice. It stands in the very heart of the ancient city, on a site that was continuously inhabited long before the rise of the Roman Empire. Beneath Nero's Golden House lie Republican structures, and beneath those, the remnants of the early Republic. Digging even deeper reveals traces of Etruscan presence, and at the very bottom, geological layers recall a time when the site of Rome was nothing but swamps and hills. Ground-penetrating radar possesses the extraordinary ability to visualize all of this, layer by layer, much like the cross-section of a tree, where each ring marks a century. When tourists descend into the Colosseum's Hypogeum and wander through the very tunnels where lions once roared and gladiators awaited their grim fate, they believe they are seeing the bottom. They imagine that beneath them, there is only impenetrable stone and inert earth. But the GPR has irrevocably proven that this is not the case. Beneath that perceived bottom, there is yet another bottom, and beneath that, quite possibly, still another. We do not know how many such layers exist, nor do we know what treasures or mysteries they hold. We cannot even guess whose shadows might still roam these long-forgotten corridors, which have not seen the light of day for 2 millennia. We know only one thing for certain. The Colosseum, much like the entirety of Rome, is far, far deeper than it appears. Every time we confidently believe we have reached the ultimate depths, it turns out that the bottom is merely the ceiling of the next unexplored floor. There is something profoundly symbolic in the fact that the Colosseum, a structure explicitly built for spectacles, for the very act of showing and displaying, has paradoxically proven to be the most steadfast keeper of secrets. For 2,000 years, it has stood proudly in full view of the world, and for 2,000 years, it has meticulously hidden its profound secrets beneath the earth. On its surface, there are magnificent stones, soaring arches, and throngs of tourists armed with selfie sticks. Just beneath the surface lie the known corridors where lions once roared and gladiators prayed their final prayers. And deeper still lie the structures we have only just begun to uncover and cannot yet fully explain. And even deeper than that, there are layers we have not yet even managed to reach. The Colosseum is a magnificent palimpsest, a document written over another document. The Flavian amphitheater built over Nero's Golden House. The Golden House built over Republican structures. The Republic built over monarchical Rome, and so on, spiraling ever downward to the very beginning. The radar has afforded us a tantalizing glimpse one layer deeper, and that layer has proven to be utterly full of surprises. How many more layers remain? We do not know, but we do know that technology advances exponentially with each passing year. What was invisible yesterday becomes visible today. What remains invisible today will undoubtedly become visible tomorrow. And sooner or later, we will witness everything the Colosseum has concealed from us for 2,000 years, stone by stone, layer by layer, secret by secret, until we reach its absolute base, if, indeed, such a building can ever truly be said to have a bottom. For 2 millennia, it has convinced us otherwise, and judging by what the GPR has revealed, it has no intention of ceasing its quiet revelations. Somewhere down there, buried under 20 meters of history, beneath the immense foundation poured by Vespasian's enslaved laborers, beneath the channels of Nero's artificial lake, and beneath the foundations of Republican homes, lies something of which we cannot yet even conceive. And the Colosseum patiently waits for us to be truly ready to see it.